Welcome to AHRC TV's weekly roundup. I'm Josephina Bergston. This week, Asian Parliamentarians gathered in Hong Kong for the 4th Asian Alliance Against Torture and Ill-Treatment Conference, organised by the Asian Legal Resource Centre in collaboration with its international partner, Danish-based Dignity. AHRC TV was there for the duration to listen in on discussions about rule of law, fair trials, police reform and true democracy beyond mere voting mechanisms. Here are some snippets.
Now we have a very rich list of participants attending this meeting. Some of the faces are, as I said before, veterans into this group, whereas many others are new. So I want to welcome you all on behalf of the Asian Legal Resource Centre as well as Asian Human Rights Commission to this meeting. I hope and we hope that the next 3 days, including today, will be occasion for us to discuss in detail about the challenges that we face in Asia to guarantee fair trial and to end the practice of torture, the endemic practice of torture. It's not a small subject, it's a vast subject. It's like, as I would refer to it, as a multi-headed hydra. And I think the parliamentarians at the end of the day can play a pivotal role.
Now the areas we have an agreement are that, of course, torture is condemned and we condemn torture, and we that it should be eliminated and that there should be legislation to eliminate that, and also that legislation should be properly implemented so that we have torture-free criminal investigations. Now on this I think we have agreement. The question, there are many questions that arise, not on the area of people morally condemning torture. Everybody will agree that it is wrong and we don't want it. But there is an argument, it is subtly made in a different way. That argument is that it is a necessary evil. By necessary evil, what it means is, in the due to certain problems, we have it. Now the problems which will be very often talked about are that unaffordability, that as they would put in a rather little sarcastic way, 5-star criminal investigation is not yet a possibility for Asia. Kind of a distinction be made in terms of developed and underdeveloped countries on this issue. We know there are many distinctions to be made, but is this an area in which a distinction should be made? I think that this is a very key issue to be dealt with, because the kind of defense of torture is on that area. Either that it is unaffordable in terms of finances, that we are too poor to be able to invest enough money on our law enforcement. Therefore, we will have a second grade or third grade law enforcement. Kind of like an acceptable idea that our policeman can be a person who is completely incompetent, somebody who could be recruited from anything, while there can be some at the top level some good officers, at the lower ranks could be of anything, and that we will use them for arresting, which is a difficult art, and they will do the arrest in the way they know how to do, which means that using coercive methods for at the moment of arrest, at the moment of detention, as if that yes, we don't like it, we don't want it, but this is all that we can afford. Now this is an area which only the people who are dealing in the legislature, the people who are dealing with power has to deal with. In other words, are we ready to allocate the monies that are necessary in order to have a kind of a policing system that is, that could do their job without resorting to torture.
With regard to the rule of law and democracy, because what I feel is Hong Kong and Singapore, taking as an example, they have not gone towards democracy, they have gone towards the rule of law. In the South Asian countries, which Mr. Ayaz is referring to, unfortunately, there is no rule of law, there is law of the ruler. And in the name of democracy, a common man is subjugated. Elections, which is a part and parcel of democracy, has become a rich man's game. No poor man can ever get elected without the support of money from somebody or his own money. And he gets elected through intimidation, through torture, and through the money he has.
When we think of torture and policing and torture and administration and torture and democracy, we should also consider who are being tortured. Not who is torturing, who is being tortured. Recently we had a consultation in Delhi, Law Commission organized, about people who are on the death penalty. 90% of the people who have been convicted for death are from the backward, poor sections of society. No rich and mighty is ever convicted for death penalty. Under trials in the country are all poor people. People who are tortured are inevitably poor people. So is it democracy or is it rule of law? Is it rule by law? We can define whatever way. More than anything, I think it's a question of authority and the patriarchal mindset in the people. So we need to, when we think of eliminating torture, just by bringing institutions and law, we may not be able to succeed at all. We need to change the mindsets.
I can speak for Pakistan. Torture over there under the police is not primarily related to the investigation of cases. It is not a criminal case being registered and somebody being brought to a thana and being tortured. That would be entirely different. Then your argument, the premises you laid out for this discussion, that this argument about affordability should not be given, that is not the case over there, at least in my country. A poor person who comes in and a person who looks poor by his face, his clothes, he comes in, there would be, let's say, I'm saying this, say, 3 or 4 people in a thana. He would come in and someone would just slap him without even asking why has he been brought into the police station. It is not a question of intimidating him, as you said, because of other factors. Much of our police structure is either caste-based or there is, suppose every police officer in Pakistan, he has a caste title before his name. Now there are undercaste people in my country, in India, across South Asia. Now not in the eyes of the law, but as far as the police attitude is concerned, they are lesser beings. So the application of torture for solving a crime comes much later.
32 years actually, police in my country, in Indonesia, is same with the military forces actually. So we could not differentiate whether this is police, whether this is armed forces actually, because in terms of organization, even the chief police was under the armed forces commander. Yeah, but after we changed into the democratic country, yeah, in 1998, in which no military style rules, and then we become more civilized country actually, then everything is changed.
Where police had been used, the law enforcement agencies are used as a tool for the political party to remain in power. So the torture that is taking place, especially the disappearances cases, which I've mentioned even last time, I remember, just a year ago, in this same consultation meeting, where the number of disappearances in Bangladesh among the opposition political parties were less than 300. In the last 1 year, there have been another 500 plus. We've already almost touched 1,000 cases of disappearances among the students and the youth activists of the opposition parties, only in the last 1 year. And of course, the other tortures are also there. So that is another thing. That's absolutely a political thing when you come to a more serious type of tortures that we are talking about.
We have a lot of issues with regard to judiciary. The most important concern is the pendency of a lot of cases, not only with regard to criminal cases, but with regard to civil cases also. The average duration for a civil dispute to finally come to a logical conclusion is more than 20-25 years. So this is starting from the lower courts up to the Supreme Court. If one want to fight for it, it may take more than 2 decades. So this much number of cases are being pending in different courts in India. So the major concern is the infrastructural or the resources problem. We have a lot of other systemic issues also, but the resource crunch is very much crucial when it comes to expediting things like this. Again, the cost of justice is also very high when it comes to the apex courts and all. An ordinary man, a common man, I would say, I don't know how much he will be able to pursue justice up to the Supreme Court, where it takes a huge amount of money. So
tortures to the Dalits occur now and then. Torture in my country is class-based, as I had already mentioned. If the man is rich, no torture at all. If the man is poor, torture can be seen everywhere. If the man is Dalit or woman is Dalit, torture is sure to happen. If the man or woman is from Brahmin family, no possibility of torture. If the man is in relation to the higher leader, then his torture or her torture can be stopped at any moment when the leader telephones. So this is the scenario of Nepal. So,
with regard to cooperation between the military and the police in the Philippines, is in the legal arena. Whereas, for example, under the previous regime, the presidency of Gloria Arroyo, her government became notorious for extrajudicial killings and disappearances, targeting activists, dissidents, those who protested against the administration and the government's policies, and there was because of the international clamor and outrage against the killings, the extrajudicial killings in the Philippines, towards the end of Arroyo's administration, there was a marked shift. There was a decline in the number of killings, but an increase in the number of cases of trumped-up charges, of usually non-bailable criminal charges being filed against activist leaders, trade union leaders, peasant leaders, women activists, student activists, and so on. So there was, in other words, there was a shift towards making use of the justice system in order to harass and to jail so-called enemies of the state. So by filing of these trumped-up charges.
So militarizations, we all have to be careful in the democracy. You see, country like Bangladesh, the question remains: a country which fought against Pakistani regime, against militarizations. Why they are doing it? Is it because of the fear that Sheikh Mujibur Rahman, our leader, was been killed by few army officers? Is that the reason? No. The reason is this is a collusion between corrupt so-called Democrats and the army, so that the army will not be able to fight anything. So they will be involved as part and parcel of the corruption. That destroys a country, that destroys a nation. We all, militarization has killed Pakistan, it may kill Bangladesh as well, maybe in a different fashion.
The rule of law is still cherished in Hong Kong. It has become the one of the core values that we have for the community. Now, as far as prosecution is concerned, Article 63 of the Basic Law guarantees the independence of, not the judiciary, but of independence of the prosecutorial authority. It says that the Department of Justice will be responsible for all prosecutions in Hong Kong, without interference. That's the article. This phrase, without interference, was debated and argued and finally incorporated as part of the article. It reflects our concern that after 1997, we shall have exactly the same independent prosecuting authority.
I would try to make some sort of a comparison between the rule of law and rule by law. The rule by law to the police force is really very important. And then put it simple, is the strict enforcement of the law. And thereafter, I would try to, illustrate to you what we call the vision, common purpose, values we have in the force. And that is really very important in our transformation from that what our chairperson here just saying that in 1974, the corruption is really very rampant, and then nowadays the police force to a certain extent is well received to be the Asia's finest, clean and efficient.
The kind of Hong Kong police that it should be, and that a country like Pakistan requires. We are still very far from that. There is, I think every government which comes in says that we will give attention to police reform. Now, this is an undertaking which every incoming government makes, and which every incoming government then disavows. So this is something that needs to be done.
That is all for this weekly roundup. For more on these and other issues, please visit www.humanrights.asia. Thank you for watching, and see you again next week.